Let's get reaction now from our experts. Bobby Chacon is a former FBI special agent, and Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is a founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Great to have both of you here. Bobby, police acted very quickly. They shot and killed the attacker just minutes after he began his assault. The synagogue, however, was packed full of people. This could have been much worse.
Yes, you're right, Elizabeth. It could have been, just like the one we saw in the Mormon church. These are now multi-stage attacks. So in other words, they're using multiple things. They're using, a car and then a gun, or a car and a knife. And so they're becoming more aggressive in these attacks, and it really is cause for concern.
Doctor, the suspect's been identified as a British man of Syrian descent. They're still trying to figure out a motive, but they are already calling this an act of terrorism.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, we are, it's not just Israel that's at war. The West is at war to save our civilization. And as a Muslim who rejects extremist Islamist ideologies, I stand with the Jewish communities arm in arm in their holiest day. An attack against them is an attack against all of us. I run a coalition called the Champions for Liberty Against the Reality of Islamist Tyranny, which is clarity. And the clarity here is that it's not just his first name is jihad, but this red-green axis in the West of the anti-Semitism that's been fueling in our campuses and elsewhere. This is not just a lone actor. He was ideologically radicalized. My family's from Syria. He's from Syria, but some come to the West to embrace freedom, and some come because they feel there's conspiracy theories and there's radicalization happening. And we need to, as we have so many time and time again relearned, that his jihad was about hating the West and spreading his radical supremacist form of Islamism.
Yeah, and picking the holiest day of the Jewish calendar to do that. Bobby, the vest he wore was designed to look just like a suicide vest. That alone was clearly meant to terrorize people.
Not only terrorize them, but keep them from coming at him. So in other words, a lot of times people will try to stop an attack, but if they see a suicide vest, they'll run the other way. So that was a countermeasure to anybody that might come towards him. So if he wanted to stab people, they probably were going to try to run away if they saw that vest.
Doctor, you were talking about the fact that people become radicalized. This wasn't just this man. Police have arrested 3 other people, 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s. They are suspected of helping him plot this attack.
Yes, we really have to look deep into the radicalization and what foments anti-Semitism. In history, repeatedly, the Jewish community has been at the tip of the spear of hate and radicalism. And around the world, we see governments in Europe, for example, recognizing the Palestinian state. And all that did is that appeasement actually fuels radicalization and basically says that the end justifies the means for these terrorists. We instead need to stand with Israel and say that Hamas needs to surrender, because the defense of Hamas it just horrifies me as a humanitarian, as an American, to see Hamas that committed the genocidal crimes of October 7 defended on universities and elsewhere around the country. And then you wonder why an individual like Jihad al-Shami gets to where he is. It's because they're seeing some yield as a result of waging war on innocent Jewish communities and the rest of us in the West.
Yeah, Hamas is a death cult, full stop. Exactly. A terrorist group, full stop. But Doctor, Manchester is home to Britain's Jewish population outside of London, but it has an even larger Muslim population, largely due to immigration in recent years. You know that this has been creating political tension in many European countries, this influx of Muslim immigrants. This incident today is likely to inflame that.
I was just in Oxford last October debating, as a Muslim who loves my faith, whether Islam is compatible with democracy. And I said it's not today, but maybe it will in the future. And what I told them is 81% of British Muslims say they're Muslim first and British second. So as we seal the border physically, we have to look at what's happening within the mindset of those that come here, as my family did. My family embraced Americanism first. Right. And then they said they happen to be Muslim or Syrian or Arabic. We have to look in European countries, etc. What is the ideology, the social contract that they're embracing? And yes, there are many Muslims that are British first and want to serve in the British military, but those that reject British identity, they need to root that out and begin to address that social disease, if you will, and lack of national identity.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.